Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of By the Numbers. I'm your host, Richard Lewis. That's Duncan Torrance Shields over there on that fucking yayo. He's got the sniff going on right now.
Why did you do the pure? Like we referred to it on the last episode, the pure Bill Hicks of like just pasted on the thick smile, like. Hello, then. Hello, listen. Welcome to the show again, guys.
Yo. I got a fucking day job. I just got out the fucking gym. Like, all I wanted to do right now was go and have beat it and have an afternoon fucking nap. And then you're like, yep, sure. Let's do a show then, Rich. Like, fucking hell, why can't it be one of the days Duncan cancels? That's where I was at.
Oh.
Whatever. You're right. We've got to look after the patrons, mate. And we got to look after our sponsor as well, rivalry.gg. They sponsored the channel. You can go over to rivalry.gg/RLS and you qualify for up to $350 in VIP bonuses. And more importantly than any of that, because fuck you, you basically show them they were right to sponsor us, right to give us money. And that's way more important because I want more of that in the future because I am all about that greed.
Greedy, yeah.
Yeah, just no integrity, no ethics, all about that greed. What you've been doing this fucking week? Because I know you haven't been at the events because obviously... It's true now. Yeah, you don't get invited. So
don't do those anymore. Like that's the secret with me. Right up until the moment I'm doing an event, I'm not doing them, Rich. So they're right. Yeah. They're right a lot of the time. Here's the thing: they're right more often than they're wrong. That's the mad thing. Because the joke's on me. I don't do events all day long during my entire life. So you know what? I've got to give it up to them. They win. Just as. Do you want to know? Do you want to know one of the maddest things? This is one of those moments I do start to feel like meme magic is real. Right at the actual time when those morons on Reddit just started saying that I like give Device the MVP at every tournament, and obviously the absurdist version of the joke was like, that I give him it when Astralis isn't even at the tournament. That joke actually was spawned last year when they were like, the third best team or something, which is why people tried to use it as a joke to imply that, I give it to Device no matter what, even though actually I made this point on Twitter once. If you ever go and look, it's actually factually totally inaccurate. I'd only given Device an MVP something like 3 times, and two of them were where they like won the tournament. I think the one time was the time they lost in overtime or something, on the third map. But again, this is the meme magic. Well, obviously this year he has just won like almost every MVP for Astralis.
Apparently it's an HLTV records. Yeah, like 11 MVPs. I mean, I do want to say there was that time in the green room you said if you had to fuck any male CS:GO pro, it would definitely be Device.
Listen. I'm not one of those cowards who won't just give an answer to a question. I'll say there's answers to every question. Maybe everyone doesn't want to know those answers. Maybe some of those answers should be hidden X-Files style in a fucking bunker under the Arizonan desert. But all I'm telling you is, gun to my head, I'm not just dying dead on the floor, man. You're taking a chance. What can I tell you?
I always thought that's why you hooked him up with that fucking... when you referred him to that sports psychologist to stop his choking issue? I always thought it was a different kind of choking. Get rid of that gag reflex with like an evil hypnotist.
Sean Guest style. Yeah. Sadly, I didn't have Jess Hall to run the expenses through, so I had to pay for it myself.
Yeah, I know that. I know how that goes. Right, let's start with some fucking drama, man. Because
well, here's the thing. That's what's brilliant about this event, isn't it? It's like the event itself had enough games and storylines. We could just talk only about that. But you know what? Just for 1 second, the spotlight had lifted off Nico. Like he obviously, people had scrutinized him a lot. He's now trying to in-game lead one of the most talented teams in the world. He's done it a little bit. He's found some success, but will he continue on? But he's not at an event. So finally he sits back and he goes, right, you know what? I'm not at this event. No more pressure on me. Take it easy. P.S. You all hack.
It's like, come on, mate.
It's like he went out of his way to start the maddest drama bomb ever. And here's the thing, Richard. This particular one, more than any other in recent history, has shown me how bad some fans are on the internet. Because this isn't even one where it's like a difference of opinion. I would have thought the consensus would be so painfully obvious. And it goes like this. Okay. Maybe some players are exploiting some kind of a smoke bug, whether that's settings or literally cheating. If that is true, yes, of course, we would like to bring this to Valve and the community's attention and fix it. No, that in no way is conflated with or justifies calling out a player right now in a live game and saying maybe he is cheating using this. Like, those are two so different things that the idea that's what the war was over with people who wanted to believe like Nico was right is just that it staggers. It's just unbelievable.
Mate,
there's not even any grounds to say that he was in the right to do it, especially because I don't know if you know this, Rich, but I'll just say it right now because of the context. That the context means that as a journalist, this is actually now information that is in the public interest. Nico himself at an event in 2016, I won't say aggressively because none of these, it's like the fucking NBA, mate. None of these people are fighters. They're all just people who just like to talk, I would say in a mildly hostile manner, confronted me just because I did that tweet years ago when he had that lock on Dust 2 where his hand came off the keyboard apparently and it just stayed on the guy's head. And all I did was say, what the fuck is this? I didn't even say he's cheating or anything. I literally wanted to know, like, how does someone produce that effect? I still think to this day, by the way, very bizarre clip. Like the idea that it's because he just had his hand off. What, you just perfectly track, like, the whole thing was like, again, it's one of those ones where it's like a what if. And I will say, by the way, he doesn't know this, but that actually is the moment that made me realize what a lot of people realize now, which is that it's hard to just have a conversation like a normal member of the community over if you think someone's cheating. Because unfortunately, when you're in our position, which is how it's going to loop back in, it will be taken as evidence. People will link to those clips and tweets for years, and they'll say someone else cheats as a result, and they'll say that we secretly know, and that here's the moment where they almost came out and red pilled everyone, but then they went back under the fucking Soros payments.
Paychecks. Yeah.
There we go. We got the old Soros checks in there. Yeah. And what's ridiculous about that storyline, obviously, is he got really upset by that, mate. Like he was going, "What, you think I am cheating? You think I am cheater?"
Yeah,
and I was just saying, exactly what he might say now. No, I'm just saying it looked very weird to me, mate. I'd like to know an explanation that. Maybe you can tell me one. Now, in the context of all of that, it's kind of ridiculous that he's calling out Astralis like this now.
Sure, but like that, mate, I got lots I can say about this.
Come on.
Right? So let's just fucking start with, first of all, a little bit of background. I was gonna bring that story up, so I'm glad you did. You have to understand, like, a little bit about Nico's mindset. Like Nico, because like, listen, I ain't even gonna be at these events no more. Like, so
here we go.
It's just time to drop the fucking knowledge. Like, I don't give a fuck.
So that's just me at events. Motherfuckers throwing hands at me like, I saw you on that Richard Lewis podcast. Running your mouth real nice, boy.
Like, You can.
What was that you were saying about you don't even care if you see me in person? You can catch it on site. No, it was Richard. It's all Richard. I didn't say any of that.
But like, right, so first of all, absolutely, I remember him being mega fucking pissed off about you. All you just said, like the tweet, if I remember rightly, just does say, "What the fuck is this?" or something, right? With that famous clip of the crosshair perfectly tracking someone through double doors. Which, by the way, my views on this, I think, and I'm going to get to this when we talk about the Astralis thing in just a bit. We need to accept that something fundamentally has changed between 1.6. Source and Go in how we view the game through Go TV. It is not an accurate. What you see on the screen when you watch Go TV demo, when you're watching Go TV, it is not accurate to what is on players' screens. And I think this fact combined with the prevalence of X-ray is the worst thing that ever happened to pros in terms of having to deal with cheating allegations. Because you think about it now, right? When X-ray first came out, it was a tool that people toggled. Now the norm is pretty much to like leave it on. A lot of broadcasts just leave it on all the time. And every time a crosshair like sweeps and the movement and the crosshair movement sync up. Oh, look, he's locking on. He's locking on. He's locking on. Quick, that sucks. I'm an incel. Yeah! Like, it's just like fucking beam me the fuck up, you mad cunts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the worst thing that ever fucking happened, right? So anyway, I remember Nico being mega pissed off with you about that because how dare you fucking tweet?
Of course, yeah.
Not even an opinion, just a question. Right? But then, so you have to understand how his brain works. There was this one time, right, when he was at fucking E-League, right, where he'd been drinking. It was when he was still at Mouse Sports.
Of course.
And we all remember how the good old days, right? And you might not know this, but Nico likes to put it away, and I respect that. I used to be a big.
There's a reason he had like 3 times bigger jersey size in Mouse Sports than in Face Clan, put that way. Not least because my assumption always was with that team, it's like, right, we've lost, let's hit the bar. Hence why they all looked like that. They're all a wreck by the end of the year, weren't they? Let's go down the group stage or whatever.
Like I say, fair fucks. I miss the good old days when players and journalists and commentators would all sit around a big fucking table just getting absolutely fucking wrecked talking about the good old days. Like, I miss that culture's kind of dying off now, but whatever. But anyway, Nico used to get absolutely fucking leathered. And when he was at E-League, he used to fucking love it in particular because it's Atlanta. It's a nice city. There are certain bars you can frequent. You know, you can all go out.
It's a magic city. What can I tell you?
Yeah, it is. Exactly. It's magic, mate. Pure fucking magic, right? So anyway, there was this one time when he was in the hotel that we were all fucking staying in downtown. And for some reason, all foreign credit cards were just getting declined at this bar. It was just like, it was a hotel, so they had no excuse for it, but everyone's credit cards were just getting knocked back. And anyway, Nico had run up this fucking insane bar tab. Like, I was proud of it. Like, holy shit, Nico. Like, how the fuck have you stuck all this away, you know? Like, it was like, you know, shots for everyone, beers and all this shit. So I was like, trying to talk over with the hotelier about, you know, sorting it out, because obviously it was Turner, so we had like an agreement and a fucking contract over there. And, you know, we sent so much business to them at this hotel. You know, we used to get discounts, and it was like a quid pro quo thing. And I was like, listen, these guys are fucking athletes. They're here at our tournament. They're trying to wet their whistle. You're refusing all foreign cards. Like, can you let these guys just fucking, you know, off with it until tomorrow? We'll all make sure it gets squared. And I'm a representative of Turner. Here's my name. Here's what I can do. So anyway, they were having none of it. And then they sent these fucking, you know, big fucking burly guys, some massive fucking white dude with a buzz cut and a fucking Dust Till Dawn tattoo on his fucking neck comes down. And he's just staring at me like I'm lying. No way you fucking work for Turner. Like this sort of stuff, right? So anyway, I'm like, okay, look, listen, I'll get the money. Just fucking relax. No need for this. Anyway, so I'm like, so Nico comes over, and I'm like, okay, Nico's going to appreciate, you know, what I'm doing for him. And he says, I'm going to go to bed. And I went, well, why, mate? Like, you know, we got to settle this bar tab, like, don't we? And he goes, no, you should pay for it. And I was like, fuck do you mean I should pay for it? Like, I just got here. Like, I'm trying to square up this mess. And he goes, I'm playing in your tournament. I can't be bothered with this shit. Fuck this. You pay for it. So in the end, I think between me and him, and I think even you chipped in a little bit. I think you chipped in like $200. First time I've ever seen you pay for a fucking drink. We all had to square it away. And it was just literally, it wasn't even a joke. It wasn't a wind-up. He believed absolutely that because he was competing in this tournament, the fact that it wouldn't accept his credit card, I had to pick up the bar tab just by virtue of being a Turner employee.
In some ways, he was born to join FaZe Clan. He was a FaZe Clan player before he knew it. He just didn't know, you know, he was one of those people who was like, you know, there are people like that, you know, who it's weird. Before you even really know how good they are at something, they do have the star mentality. And I can't lie. Obviously, in this particular case, it's ridiculous because it's so mundane just not paying a bar tab that you clearly ran up. It's like, you can't really be like, that's rock and roll. But like beyond that, some people do pull off the rock and roll shit. Like obviously Shocks did for a long time, you know. They do. I can't even lie. They do seem baller when they do it, you know, when they just rock up and you just like, then they lose the first game, like, oh, I was having a nap earlier. Mate, and then they just win the tournament anyway.
Yeah, but it was like that envious fucking team was like that shit. Like you would see them like all just coming in the next day, like shaking, like shitting dogs, pale as fuck. And if you remembered, it was fucking what they had that mad record where it was like
ridiculous.
Every time they played a morning game, they'd lost the first map 17 times in a row or something, but won the series.
So many times, yeah.
Yeah, it was like...
And still won a lot of these tournaments as well, obviously.
Oh, yeah, fuck yeah. You know, I'm all down for that shit. Like, I thought that was fucking awesome. But anyway, but bottom line, you know, Nico's like an interesting guy. Like, you know, a lot of people were typing, "Oh, Nico sounds like a cunt." He's not a cunt.
No, not at all.
Yeah, not at all. That isn't the point of the story. The point I'm trying to say is that, you know, once Nico gets an idea in his head about what's fair, what's right, the timing doesn't matter. You know, there's no negotiation. It is what it is.
It's like that thing I used to say about Shocks, when Shocks did used to be able to do this, like just regularly, just dick around, get back in shape, become the best player in the world again, overcome all his problems. I used to just say it is just Shocks' world and we fucking live in it. That's what it's like with Nico. Like, remember, the guy literally every decision he makes just works out somehow. in the end.
In the end. So, I mean, right,
he hasn't even got a mad backlash for calling the number one team in the world.
No, it's mental.
Potential cheaters. I even have cunts,
talent goes such a long way, dude.
There's even cunts, right, who literally spent all their time over the weekend just debating the semantics of whether like cheating is like hacking, not whether or not it's right for Nico to just say that like Astralis is using those fucking things. Like, come on. My favorite, you'll love this, Richard, because it's the kind of thing that only people on the internet would do. No one in a courtroom, even the worst lawyer of all time, would never come out and go, Your Honor, not only did Nico say that Astralis was probably using the smoke bug, but I will show you evidence exhibit 2B, where Taco also claims it. Because you know how many people said Taco also said Astralis is using the smoke bug? You go and look at Taco's tweet. His tweet says, I didn't think Astralis used it. So by saying that he doesn't think they use it, he's saying that they do use it. That's the level of reading comprehension we're on right now. Like, I sometimes think, what I need to do to just lower my stress levels on the internet is have a guy who sits next to me, right? And he just sits there all day long, just doing nothing. And then anytime someone starts messaging me who's got like fucking a Portuguese sounding name, he just goes, remember, that guy probably hasn't finished C-Spot run. And I go, exactly, why would I even waste my time reading this? Right, next one. Let's keep moving on. Because if you imagine someone was just going, C, spot. You called zero, like you would never even waste your time listening, would you? Like, I don't know any of what you're saying right now. You're just like, for all I know, this is like a soundboard using English, and you're just hammering away on it, having a fucking laugh. Like, haha, what about cold zero now, cunt? Like, that's gonna be the way I die, isn't it? Hooked up to some machine somewhere, just at the end, and then some nurse will just lean in. What about cold zero? That's my last thought, just echoing through our mind as I propel off onto the DMT trip in all eternity. What about cold zero?
It'll be right. You'll get some mad fucking illness, right? You'll get some mad fucking illness that there's a pioneering treatment for it only in Brazil. And you're like 70, 80, a withered husk, but you think, fuck it. I'm Duncan Thorin Shield, so I'm not giving in. So you go out to this clinic in Brazil, even though you've never been there and you're always worried. And you're dying on the bed about to get this revolutionary treatment. And the doctor comes over and he's called Dr. Cold Zero, named after the legendary player. Yeah. Statues of him everywhere because of all his achievements in esports. After he supplanted Fallen as the greatest, Brazilian in-game leader. And as he leans over to give you the injection, he goes, what about Cold? And then that's when you go off and that's how you die. 100% how it's going to go down. But anyway, so look, the whole point of that story with Nico is that he doesn't fucking think, and when he gets an entrenched idea in his mind, it stays that way. As you said, he thought it was a good idea to insinuate that Astralis were using some form of smoke settings, some form of cheat in a fucking tournament while it was happening. And it's like, you couldn't explain it to him in that moment. You shouldn't really do that to your fellow pros. Or if you've got concerns, why not just back channel and go to the tournament admins or whatever? Yeah. Right. But here's the next point, right? So first of all, I think, I'm old fashioned, me. Like, I think one of the star players and in-game leaders of one of the top teams in the world insinuating the number one team in the world might be using some form of cheat or doing something improper in a tournament, I consider that newsworthy.
Of course.
Right?
That's in a world where people still allow like any old, like if you or me before the tournament say, haha, NRG will win whatever that fucking tournament was we just watched. NRG will win ECS. People will get that tweet to the top of Reddit like, ha, this aged well. Yeah. If that can be newsworthy, then it's absolutely newsworthy, as you say. A top like, by the way, this is literally like if in Deflategate, it wasn't even just the media. It was actually Aaron Rodgers himself after the fucking AFC Championship game. It was like, you know what? I reckon they probably just fucking deflated the balls. That's why they won. Anyway, don't anyone report that. It's not newsworthy. Just something I'm saying out loud out of my famous face about someone incredibly famous with implications of everyone famous. But, wouldn't want to see that in the news. Like fucking like that time D-Man over Reddit, like bloody Reddit, taking everything out of God. His quote was just like, fuck.
I fucking hate Reddit, me. Thread. D-Man hates Reddit. You're taking everything out of bloody context again. It's what you do. Now move over, Anders. It's my fucking final. you cunt. He was a fucking character, when he won.
I actually miss him because the problem is he started with that strong cameo in CS:GO, and then he just disappeared so quickly, didn't he? Just faded away.
I know, man. It's like, here's the thing: you've seen me advocate for second chances, like for a lot of people, because I do believe in that shit, you know. But I don't know, D, man. It's like, I think the second chance has to come when you realize you did something wrong.
He hasn't hit rock bottom. No, in his mind, it's still going. No, I mean, listen, as an outsider, it's objectively the case. But I'm talking about subjectively his experiences. Like, he's like Partridge right now in like that second series. He's like, oh, can I have another series on ESL? Idea for a show. Me and Ninja go in in the Black Country, Anders. No way, I hate Anders.
Me and Dr. Disrespect, the cooking program.
Oh, mate. No, it's like, you know, like you think about how his trajectory went, right? He was the #1 like voice for EULCS. He was at ESL. All right, it didn't work out in CS. But it just all went to shit so fucking quickly. He leaves fucking Riot, misses out on all those shares, like getting bought by Tencent, like literally got about mills in the bank. Like does it for a relationship that immediately fucking capitulates.
Yeah, that was a hard one.
And now it's like I just see him like streaming fucking Football Manager to like 80 people and that going, well, this is all right. I'm still in the game.
Sorry, lads. Got a fixture against Bury coming up soon. Whatever, we took a draw, 1-1. Still counts.
We shouldn't laugh. Mate.
It's so funny. It's great.
Right.
Anyway, Nico.
Yeah, right. I was saying it was fucking newsworthy, right?
Of course, yeah.
And after the tweet was made, somebody made a Reddit thread about it, and there's a Reddit mod, right, called Drehawk.
Come on.
He was like newly appointed to the CS:GO Reddit mod team, and he's like just some fucking crazy German cunt, right? And he's the one who said, anything to do with this show, it's not newsworthy. Me getting a new job, not newsworthy. And then what happens is he'll delete stuff, like just with impunity, and then one or two things will happen. The other mods will go, oh, he's made a mistake and he's been educated about it, and then he'll just do it again. Or they pretend auto-moderator got it. That's
my favorite one, yeah.
Yeah, they have this setting. They have this setting, apparently, where if enough people report a thread, it's just instantly deleted. And that threshold, despite Reddit being a traffic generating website that gets, like hundreds of thousands of people, their report threshold is about 12 to 15 reports. And then it just instantly deletes the thread. Couldn't see how anyone could manipulate a system like that.
No loophole wide open there.
None at all. So this Drehawk cunt, right, is like, he fucking just removed the first thread that was made by, off the back of like a Don Hassey tweet or whatever. And it just said, like, Nico calls out Astralis. And Drehawk's excuse for deleting it was, well, you're insinuating Nico's insinuating they're cheating. Which, first of all, I mean, like, I don't know how else to interpret what Nico's saying. He's definitely saying they're using some bullshit smoke settings. That's the implication. And that title, Nico calls out Astralis, isn't implying that at all. But also, it's irrelevant anyway.
This is one of those examples, right, of like a trick I've learned. Whenever you get into a public situation where people are like debating over some like minutia of the angle, the area that you'll get caught up in is if you start answering their questions, right? If they're like, but why did he do this? What does this imply? Like, what you do instead is try and figure out what their case that they're making is. So if their case that they're making is that he didn't say that they were hacking or cheating, all he did is imply they were using some sort of smoke settings, right?
Yeah.
So if the smoke settings are totally legit, what's the problem? Why would it be Astralis? Why would Astralis be the problem? It wouldn't. It'd be the game that's the problem, and you wouldn't even mention Astralis in that context. Instead, the implication clearly is they're using settings a lot of people don't know, which probably shouldn't be allowed. Ergo, they are in a way sort of bending the rules at the very least, if not outright cheating in some senses. Like, by the way, the other option, remember, this cunt doesn't give us like a 10-page essay. He just made one tweet and then never really clarified what he meant. The other implication is they're just actually using some sort of hack that lets you see through smokes.
So then, right, the debate starts to happen. A thread is eventually allowed on the front page of Reddit with the mods all going, oh, bloody, that auto mod, fuck, yeah. So actually people get to discuss about this very important and fucking, salient thing. And Taco, he responded saying that there is indeed some settings you can make related to NVIDIA drivers, which, by the way, just to remind everybody, and sorry to do this to you, Jacob, mate, right? But I don't know if people remember the ambient occlusion bug that was going around back in Counter-Strike Source, also with NVIDIA drivers, where it just made them look like that fucking thing that comes out of the Lady in Red in Game of Thrones. The big shadow, right? That comes out of when the belly goes down. Stannis.
That
one, right?
Renly or whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it fucking makes you look like that when you stood in smokes, right? So you can see everybody. And Pimp got fucking banned from a bunch of Danish tournaments because he got caught using it. And it's like, he weren't the only one. I mean, first of all, Danes was straight abusing that shit back then. But everyone was. It was just how stupid you were. If you were banging people through smokes all the time and you had NVIDIA's settings, people would go, well, I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? But also, there were people who were really good at banging people through smokes, and then they go, I haven't got NVIDIA settings where the ambient occlusion bug didn't work. So there was a lot of that. We had to deal with all that shit once before, and there's always going to be settings in a game that exist like this. Now, Taco came out and said there's a few pros who know it. This is where the story starts to fall down for me, because apparently one of the pros that I use it loosely, one of the pros that knows about it and has talked about it on stream a lot and says, "Oh, I'll never reveal it.
Here we go.
Never fucking use it," is fucking Loba. Now, I don't know if you've seen
Imagine
Loba.
My cock. The unreal. Yes. Like, I can't believe this character would lie. Can't remember that. That was a callback to that one where I was
I do. I do remember.
Shocked that it's come back.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, like, of all the people on the internet, like, someone do a fucking gif of this, but Lobachenya would never tell lies on the internet for attention.
Yeah, I know. He's a big-hearted man, I'm told. But here's the thing, like, if you don't know Loba, obviously you might have seen his work in Lord of the Rings. He was one of the cave trolls. It was, a big telling part from him. And then he moved into Counter-Strike afterwards, and his career didn't really pan out as well as he'd hoped for. But now I'm supposed to believe that this cunt, who literally is brain dead, I've had a conversation with him. I went on like the Don Hassey Discord and tried, and I say tried to talk to him. Usually when you use the phrase tried to talk to him, it means that the other person wouldn't listen. No, I just couldn't. There was just no ability to interface with this creature. But anyway,
I was like, listen, Loba, can't we get over our things? He was like, I'm a street rider, you don't fuck with me. Yeah, no, I'm just trying to get through to you. We in here.
Yeah, it was unreal. Like he could only repeat like one or two phrases. It was like, again, it was like talking to a soundboard a little bit. And in fact, people even said in the channel, "This is a soundboard. It's not the real Loba," but it was. So anyway,
he failed the Turing test, basically.
Yeah. I'm supposed to believe that think about all the mad cerebral players. Like, if you're going to say maybe Zitnix knows something everyone doesn't, I might be inclined to believe it. Loba knows something that the rest of us don't, does he?
Because think about it, Rich. That's the dumbest part about the premise as you're setting it up, is that if it really was just Zipnix and Glaive who know this, guess what? They're two of the smartest players in the world in their own respects. Like, I couldn't believe they had figured something secret out, like, this part of a smoke starts to dissipate first, and if you're at this distance, it goes a little bit quick. Those guys might have come up with them, but yeah, it goes without saying that Loba not only hasn't secretly figured out the foot, he's not he doesn't look at the game like when that cunt was just seeing the Matrix code coming down. He's just reading it like, there's a man going over here. Like, he's not doing any of that. And then on top of that, even though it would obviously make him world famous, not going to reveal how to do do anything. Like, nah, I've got a secret. Oh, what is it, Loba? Nah, I'm not telling you.
Right. Well,
like,
because I've mentioned him again, I only mentioned him because he'd come up. No. I'm just saying now I'll have to deal. He does this thing where he goes, Officer Richie. He just says this over and over again. He thinks it bothers me. It's like really weird. So I'll have to deal with him talking about me again, which he does incessantly. I mean, this, like, I don't know if you saw that thing as well. I talked about why he got dropped from Imperial, right? And I knew that he'd basically been like abusive to one of their female staff members. And I told him that I knew this, and he denied it. He was going, prove it. And I was going, I'm not going to do it because I was told in confidence, but I just know you did it. So then he took his own DMs to this girl, where like basically she worked for Imperial and was just trying to like get him to do stuff that, you know, they needed him to do. And he tweeted it out, and he was basically like just saying, you know, so we fuck then and stuff like this. Like saying, bring a friend because you are not that good looking and stuff like this. And he tweeted that out to prove me wrong.
Unreal,
and I'm like, dude, you're so fucking brain dead. You don't even realize that that's inappropriate. that just proves me right. This is the guy who's figured out how fucking smokes work. This is the guy who should go work for Valve, is it?
What we need to do
beam me up.
Is fight fire with fire and just get him nominated and win some sort of women's esports award for next year, and it all take care of itself. The Twitter, everything, it'll all take care of itself.
Yeah, you're right.
His breakdown will be complete.
So anyway, there are smoke settings, right? But I know some cheat coders which I use to like test stuff out and test allegations and test theories and
receive all those payments.
Obviously, you know, but I've like used them as sources of information on stories and stuff before, and used them to verify certain things. And you know, like some people I've talked to have tested out these settings, and that, right, put it this way, there are ways that you can alter these settings, and sure, what you see in that clip where Zitnix gets the clutch. Absolutely. With those manipulated settings, you can certainly see the player where he is, even though the smoke's there. But what they also told me was that having gone through the demo several times, you can see parts of the player. Like each time they were like loading it up and testing it out with like just slight tweaks on settings or on different rigs, the smoke looked different all the time. So, like, what you have to remember is smokes are not a consistent entity within the game. They're not.
Well, the way someone described it is, like, this is one thing I do like, actually, about tech problems, is because, obviously, on the internet, you've just got a bazillion people who have some level of competence. If you just post a tech problem, someone will come out with what sounds like the plausible answer. So I believe someone said the reason why these particular problems happen with smokes, as in like, because the real problem here, right, isn't that the person can see through the smoke. They can't. What happens is, for some people, the smoke seems to fade a slight bit faster. And if we're both stood in smoke waiting for it to fade, obviously the one who sees the other one first is going to get like the chance to potentially kill him faster. So the explanation I saw given was that the game itself, because of how it renders the smokes, makes the smoke pattern different for every client in the game. So I believe, like all of us, even if we were both on the same site, we'd see a slightly different smoke based on what position we're in. And the bloom might not be exactly the same. So the real problem here, as usual, it's basically a more complicated version of why, and we've mentioned this many, many times before, why we all get tricked into playing CSGO and thinking the other person must be cheating because they're just sliding around a corner and instantly wrecking you just when the model stops. Well, the real answer there, unfortunately, it's not a very sexy answer, is if you could see on his screen, the model hadn't just stopped. Like, you know, because of the MS between you and him and the server, he might actually have come around the corner, let his client completely stop, fired like he would a normal shot. It might not even be a crazy shot. That's one of the weirdest things about how different it can look on your PC. But to you, you just saw a guy like jiggle peek the corner and instantly wrecking you. Like, what the fuck? It's just like a complicated version of that, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, you know, and I think in earlier versions, if I remember rightly, like certainly in the original Counter-Strike, there wasn't any of this variation because it wasn't like a.
I will say that is a weird thing, Richard.
It would just bloom and it would occupy the same amount.
What
of
you
space
said at the
every
beginning about how no one in 1.6 ever like brought it up. That's not even because I know people are going to think that's just because no one thought top pros are cheating. No, because actually there were pros, like, especially like lower level pros. And an obvious example at the end of 1.6 would be that Danish guy Colon, who did get accused of cheating. There were the odd cases.
I remember that.
But the point is,
well, that demo of him on train in the Clan-Based Nations Cup was
there,
fucking insane. By the way,
but I mean that's
it
the
was
thing.
Convincing.
Somehow I agree with you. Even if you watched a clip of some insane shit from a top pro, somehow it never did look fishy. Like nothing in the clip looked like these CSGO clips do. And I will admit we didn't really use X-ray much, so I can't comment on that one. But I will say there was just almost never any that seemed like they were like, forget saying cheating, because that's just the extreme consequence. Just say suspicious. There weren't very many that ever seemed suspicious somehow in 1.6. I don't know why. So I'm with you. The reason why it seems plausible, it must be something to do with the CSGO or Go TV rather, or demos, is because it's like I've always said, the conspiracy of cheating would be a lot more plausible if a few people did it. But these sorts of things that people claim now, you really can find for most pros, put it that way. So the problem then is the conspiracy is that like 80% of people are cheating. That just does seem to be implausible. Yeah.
Well, look, as a source guy, right? You know, I watched that scene from its start to its finish. Right, when one-way smokes first came into the game, right, they were not intended. They were a problem with the way smokes worked in the source engine. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about with a one-way smoke, there were literally points on the map where if you threw a smoke down and stood at a certain angle, you could see through the periphery of the smoke, but your opponent would see a solid smoke and not see you. And this probably should have been fixed, honestly, because it pissed off a lot of pros that, you know, it made maps like Inferno, like for long periods of time, like unplayable because, well, you know, Banana was a real pain in the balls. There were two like one-way smokes you could deploy on Banana. But instead, they just became part of the game. People just learnt them in the same way you would learn a smoke or a flashbang. People started learning the one-way smokes, and they got incorporated into strategies. So I'm not surprised that we've got problems with smokes in Go, because remember, it's effectively a legacy engine. You know, it's a legacy game in the sense that we're porting over stuff that was in source. We're using the engine. You know, there's going to be some issues with it, which brings me to what I wanted to say about Astralis. And first of all, I'll just say this: I don't think this is the case. But obviously, the number one team and the number one team for utility specifically will probably know if there are any limitations or advantages that can be leveraged with smokes, with flashbangs, with everything. I don't think people realize how deep these motherfuckers go on it. Like, Zonic is one of the most dedicated coaches the game has ever fucking had. Like that's, from me, talking to guys like Glaive and guys like that I've known for years. Like, there's no way Lucas would blow smoke at my ass like that. Like, he has said, like, Zonic is a fucking, you know, a godsend. Makes his job infinitely more easier. Like, Zonic's always looking for stuff. But Glaive always used to do that shit as well. He was always looking at, what, you know, how can we use utility better? How can we do this? That was a hallmark of his style. People forget. It wasn't that he was a bad player or a fucking dumbass that was holding back his career. It was that his attitude stank. And after he got kicked out of Copenhagen Wolves and got super sick, one collapsed lung, then another collapsed lung, and he's in a hospital bed watching the fucking Danish scene passing by. That was the awakening of, like, I better get my shit together or I've wasted my entire career. What you see is a reborn fucking Glaive, you know, like, who's actually got it and realized that I need to start applying my talents and drop the diva bullshit. You combine somebody with his mind with somebody like Zonic, I bet they know all about fucking smokes and flashes. And sure, if there is a way to get an extra, you know, advantage here and there, who's to say they haven't cracked it? But what I will tell you about Astralis is, no fucking way, not on God's green earth, are they using anything that would be considered a cheat. No way. No way. And it's not the old tired argument of, oh, but they got so much to lose. And no. I don't want to fucking hear it. There's just no fucking way they're doing it. It's like, it just delegitimizes, like, how much work these people are put in to even insinuate it. And How are they doing it at LAN tournaments where they're getting all these smoke kills and making all these amazing reads with like 2 admins stood behind them? What, you're not going to notice if some motherfucker can see through smoke or a smoke isn't blooming on your screen? That's going to get called out. There's nowhere to hide. So what would be the point of using something in certain settings and then not being able to use it at others? The one thing that Astralis have done, despite being online, offline, whatever, they've been consistent and consistently brilliant, and hands down the number 1 team we've got right now, and probably is, in terms of skill ceiling, the number 1 team we've ever had. That, you know, like, they're just not using cheats. And I think it was a bit fucking wild to even dangle that carrot. I saw the comeback from Glaive and the other players. I think Dupree, maybe Device. I'd be a little bit pissed off if I were them. You know, I just
they could have, by the way, reacted with a lot more vitriol to Nico as well.
Absolutely.
Like, that's how chill those guys are.
Absolutely.
They tried to sort of squash the fact that it was an issue. If they were them, they would have been entirely in their rights to fucking get Nico wrecked and just completely play against them.
No, but this is who they are, right? Like, think about Astralis. Think about the players. Think about what they like. When was the last time we heard about an Astralis player doing something fucking wild? Doing something stupid, saying something, tweeting something off. I'm really struggling to think of a time. Recently there've been model sportsmen in the game, like hard work, dedication, always sporting, always polite, a little bit cheeky when they need to be. On top of that, these guys have somehow done all this. Dupree, personal issues, bereavements, Device, health problems, like Glaive, health problems, Zonic just lost his father. Like, and these guys have just fucking knuckled the fuck down, done their work, still the number 1 team, hands fucking down. It's a kick in the balls to imply that these guys aren't legit and that they're cheating. And it comes from a fellow pro, a pro you've played many times. It's not cool. And again, it just shows what a class act these players are. Didn't blow it up on social media. Even made jokes about it as they went through the tournament. Like, straight up, man, Counter-Strike don't got many better ambassadors than this Astralis team. And I think it's lousy to imply on the flimsiest of evidence, 1 smoke kill, that they're up to no good. So, I don't know, man. I thought it was bullshit. I don't know if you got any final thoughts on it.
As I said at the beginning, like, there's an entirely legitimate issue within all of this, which is that if there is, in fact, some kind of currently legal setting which lets people exploit all of these aspects, yes, let's get it fixed, or at the very minimum, let's get tournament organizers to prohibit it and say you're not allowed to use that setting. That just has nothing to do with Astralis. That's the part that I thought was kind of slimy about it. And the reason why this tilted me as a topic is it ties back into a sentiment I've had for a long time. I made this point back when the Astralis team that had Kirby on was on top, which is when they first started to get on top. Obviously, they won a lot less tournaments. They only won like 3 tournaments or something. But when they were the number 1 team, I already saw the same sort of attitude that people had now, which is like, because they aren't just playing around like individual aimers and just fucking having really like exciting games every time. People just find every way possible to downplay these fuckers, including literally now extended into the area of just implying they must be cheating somehow or they must have some unfair advantage. It's kind of a bit whack, really. It's like, I think what I love about Astralis is they crack the whole paradigm for Counter-Strike, because all those little shitters telling me for all this time about how the only reason MIBR fell off is because they were on top, so people studied their demos. And that. It's like, these guys just keep winning no matter what. You think people haven't been studying Astralis demos for the last year? People study, but you know what I love about them is you can't do the shit they're doing, and you can't stop some of it either. That's what's so wild. So they deserve all the success they've gotten. And that other issue is just not the way to deal with it, is it? Like,
let's also be real. Unfortunately, something like this was always inevitable, because one of the things that cyclically happens is whenever we get a dynastic team in Counter-Strike, they're invariably accused of knowing something all the other pros don't, and they must be cheating. And how many times are we going to go through this? We had it with Fnatic, right? Now, I will add, the flusher factor doesn't help this argument.
Sure.
with all them dodgy clips. But what that did, what Flusher's clips did, was to then show that like it just fueled this paranoia, right? Krim's clips were coming out. Olaf clips were coming out. JW clips were coming out. And then the narrative that was building behind the scenes, and I had people like literally unironically say this to me. Yeah, they're all bloody cheating, aren't they? They went and got to a private cheater, paid $10,000. They all used the cheat. No one knows about it. Even the coach is in on it, which of course would have been, Khan, right? Absolute nonsense. And I told you the story as well. Remember when they won ESL Cologne, and they had to walk through the press room with the trophy to come and do a press conference at the end, and people were booing them.
That's mental, isn't it?
Boo! Like journalists were booing them. Boo! Fuck you! Oink oink, piggy! Like this, like while they were like carrying the fucking.
Who knew Jim
trophy.
Acosta started out in the world of CS:GO reporting a few years back at ESL One Cologne 2015? Right. Well, that's interesting to me. Yeah.
And then when I was up there in the fucking gaggle, I remember telling you the story. I'm sure I've told it before on the podcast, but it's always good. A journalist went to me, like, and again, I won't name who he is because it is embarrassing. He gave me a little nudge in the ribs like that, and he said, "Yeah, I fucking hate Fnatic." And then he lifted his phone out his pocket, and I looked down, and it had an NIP fucking logo on it as his screensaver. Like, what's going on? So Fnatic were absolute fucking. They were G's, right? They were balling out of control. Everyone said they were cheating, which was a point JW just made on Twitter about it the other day. Then, think about that as well, how Taz even had to fucking come out.
Well, here's the wild thing.
Stop booing the best team in the fucking world,
Richard, think how wild this is, because who was the team who became the dominant team after Fnatic?
Well, so I want to say it was the Brazilians.
Yeah. Well, what's ridiculous is it is Brazilian fans now, because obviously they keep losing to Astralis, who are also mad high on the angle of like they're cheating. My favorite is I told you I've seen this unironically. I've seen Brazilian CS:GO fans say that they think Device, still baits too much and gets too many exit kills. I'm like, you're a fan of Cold Zero, for fuck's sake! Like, what even is this? That's like being a massive fan of some player, right? That's like being a massive fan of Neymar and going. The thing I don't like about other player is he dives a bit too much and sort of like whines to the refs too much, saying, "Oh, you're a fan of the guy who does it the most. You can't like, how could you ever be this ridiculous? You don't see the fucking glaring beam sticking out of your eye in this sense. Like, come on."
Yeah. And then the Brazilians. Like, I'll say it. I'm not a fan of like everything. The Brazilian, like me and the Brazilian players have had the back and forth, right? But again, it's like I've always said, the one thing I'll always respect, like, we're all in this shit, right? We're all going to be on different sides of the fence, but we're still fucking neighbors, you dig? Like, that's just how it is. And me and Taco have had arguments, like, over him complaining about the hat rule at E-League and stuff like this, but I respect his hustle, respect him as a competitor. You think about what he had to go through on that team when he was dog shit, this close to being kicked. Can't even imagine the stress. Ups his game. Oh, yeah, he's toggled. He's cheating. He's cheating. All cheating. Cold Zero. Look at all these aim locks. He's cheating.
There were so many Cold Zero clips. And here's the thing, right? I never understood a lot of those ones because, like, those ones were just like their implication was he just used the ESP to win every single clutch he ever played, like in the game ever. So it wasn't even like, one really mad clip that's like, holy fuck, what's that? Their implication was he just always used the ESP, wins every clutch. Like, that's a pretty strong accusation to make. The guy just cheats every round, basically. Like, have you ever heard that saying, like, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence? Well,
but I couldn't believe
all evidence.
The tweet chain to the clip was just unbelievable. Like, oh yeah, we got them. Like it was some sort of damning evidence. Like, Zipnix is one of the best clutch players we've got, man. Like, why can't it just be a sick read? Like, but equally as well, I saw a screenshot of
sure
with the foot was actually showing on the edge of the smoke.
Think about the premise here, Richard. The premise is that there's an exploit that allows you to see someone in a smoke when it's fading before they see you. So even though to use that exploit, would mean either you're claiming you just shoot blindly through smokes or you are literally cheating. Two of the smartest players in the entire scene who are winning every tournament are using this thing non-stop, even though it would be incredibly blatant if they in fact are using it. Like, are they just...
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Go do it then, guys. Guys who support the theory that Astralis are using a fucking smoke cheat, pony up. Take some time, go through all of their demos, get all the most suspicious and dubious smoke kills, release that video, release that compilation, and once you've done the groundwork, because I've got nothing to prove because I think the theory's bogus, but once you've done the groundwork, maybe someone like the Concept or someone with too much fucking time on their hands can do it, right? I'll fucking then take that video and I will get pros and we'll go over it and we'll explain the thought process. We'll explain how it all works. I'll get the smartest pros and Loba. We'll even bring Dr. Smoke himself in, right? And we'll fucking go over it all. And I guarantee it's nonsense. First of all, no one will take the effort to do it because they know it'll get shot down. And second of all, I don't even think there's like that many smoke kills there. I fucking saw so many replies going, they get about 20 smoke kills every game. Like, fucking definitely don't. Like, it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. Right, let's talk about the event that all of this was all kind of hovering over, which was the ECS Season 6 Finals. A Face It event. A Face It event that went very well. It was over in Arlington, Texas. Unlimited Eggs was continued over, I'm told, with good authority. Lots to talk about. Why don't we start with your friends, Team Liquid?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, look, okay, so first of all, yeah, we had that, the best of ones thing going on in the initial games and whatnot. So they lost to North, and then they got 2-0'd by NRG, which, by the way, anybody should call that right now, because if you look at that matchup, NRG fuck Team Liquid pretty much every time they play them. But what was interesting was in the aftermath of all of that, right, there was Twists had a very poor tournament by his standards. He was notably missing in the North game, which was a 16-12 game. Twists only gets 7 kills. Not like him at all, because I think you've jinxed it again. You just made a video saying he's NA's best player, and then this. He
does have all those like health problems, though, which he actually referenced himself this tournament.
No, so and he did. And he tweeted it out. And what? It's not just health problems, brother. He fucking said, like, I feel helpless. Like I can't get my health right. I'm playing terrible. Like for the first time in my career, I don't know what to do. So let's talk about just this Team Liquid side, like where it is right now. They go out in last place at the ECS finals. They've had a pretty, like, I don't want to call it a wretched run, but for a team that can be as good as they are, and a team with this roster, I would even say some of the tournaments where they've been runner-up, it's not good enough. They've definitely had some winnable tournaments this year that they've capitulated at the finals and in the semi-finals. So what is going on? Because it cannot just be as simple as Twists is having a tough time right now, health problems right now, because again, Astralis, they've had the same shit on Device, one of their star players, and they've powered through and made it work. So why is this team hitting this ceiling? Why is it as limited as it?
Well, first of all, on these actual results themselves, like I will say, like as you say with the NRG matchup, that's a great example of a direct head-to-head where it doesn't matter that Team Liquid is and probably always will be ranked much higher than NRG. When NRG plays them, you can make a strong case that's either a coin flip or maybe NRG could even be considered a favorite. Like if you look at the map pool, because Team Liquid bans Train, they used to ban Overpass as their permaban. Now they ban Train all the time. That means every single time NRG can pick Overpass, which is like their best map by far, their home map. It's where their comfort is. So that means every time NRG plays Team Liquid, they've always got a very strong chance on at least their own map. And then the other map, as you saw here, was Mirage anyway. It's like a map that's not like they can't ever play that map. So definitely Team Liquid shouldn't lose to them. They're a much higher ranked team. Then you've got to add in, like, I'm with you. The Twist angle alone doesn't explain it, even though he did play terribly. They have so much firepower in that team. There should still be enough elsewhere. But this is one of the problems with the position they were in, is that what I actually think, okay, that winning a tournament, sometimes even not a proper big tournament, like not even the ones that like, it's one thing, okay, if you win like a tournament that everyone's at, like an ESL event or whatever. But I think sometimes even just winning a smaller tournament, just the act of winning, like affects players in the team, that it resets them from all like the shit you've been through, basically. So, for example, that's the reason why I think Na'Vi hasn't been looking aggressively to make a roster move, because in their minds they think to themselves, do we need to? We won that Blast Pro Series tournament, we won ESL Cologne, you know, we got pretty far in Epicenter. Like in their minds, it doesn't matter that they don't beat Astralis and haven't for a while now. They're like, who gives a fuck? You know, whatever, we won these tournaments. The problem for Team Liquid is the worst spot to be in is the person who comes second every single time, because you're just like rolling over that disappointment into the next campaign. You go all the way, that rolls over in the next campaign, and it means that like it's the most unsatisfying position to be in the entire scene, pretty much. So I'd heard even during this run of finals they've had recently over the last few months that there was discontent with some of the players in the team, and that people even sort of thought, well, clearly there's something not 100% right, so should we make a roster move? And they were using that fucked up logic of like, well, we probably should, but if we always make the final, why bother? Like, why not just see if we win anyway, you know? Which is like, I'm with them. Like, I still don't think this lineup's run its course, but if that's the logic you're using, which is because basically if you reframe that, all you're saying is, we'll just wait until we have some really bad events before we blow things up and change things. Like, that's the concern for me, because it's more than just Twists who played badly here. Like, Naf hasn't looked himself for months and months now. If you look at where he's at within the team, I feel as though he's become sort of a bit of an outsider. Obviously, Twists is your best player, so if he's not playing at his peak and he's got these health problems, you are going to be limited a bit. But yeah, I'm with you that you shouldn't be going out last place, certainly. That seems a bit unreasonable.
It's tough. I mean, like, people are saying, you know, like, first of all, I've said this many times. I said it about the Mouse Sports team when they made a change, and we all know how that worked out. Like, not every team gets to win. Not every team gets to be number one. You know, it's just how it is in sports. And I don't know necessarily if there's an immediately apparent roster move that would fix this team. You know, like, who do you take out? I mean, I've said many times I have my questions about like Nitro as an in-game leader. Every player I talk to in NA tells me like Nick is fucking smart as fuck, really good tactically, knows what he's doing. He's a great in-game leader, makes great calls, reads the game really well. So it's like, well, they would know better than me. So I stopped banging that drum. Then people say, oh, well, you know, Alicia's gone a little bit off the boil. Well, he's been in really good form lately when they've been getting all these second places. Then people are like, you know, Taco. It's like, well, I think Taco's pretty much the glue that holds this team together. He's kind of like reprised that support role that he was doing so well in previous Brazilian lineups. So you can't drop him, right? So what do we do? And then you go, oh, well, let's look at the coach. I mean, they've got Zeus, one of the most successful, well-respected coaches in NA. He might not be a tactical mastermind, but he might be. You know, we don't really know. He never really opens up and talks about that stuff. But I would say there's not many coaches in the same league as him. So how do you make a change in that regards? It's like everything they've got is really good, but just holistically, it's not good enough to get them over the finish line and winning tournaments. And here you saw what happens when one of the components in the team is off. It just doesn't work. I mean, they, you know, no disrespect to North. I think Liquid are a better team than them. I would have called them a win. Best of ones are a little bit deceptive. Wouldn't have them beating NRG, but that's a matchup thing, not a roster thing. So I really don't know. Like, a roster move isn't the answer. A coaching change isn't the answer. I couldn't, like, there are a million teams with problems that I could look at and analyze and say, do this, do this, do this. Liquid's a fucking enigma to me.
Well, the other thing as well I have an issue with them on is, like, as a team, it's not like they've gone through patches. Like, it's not like they do 3 finals in a row, then they bomb 2 tournaments. Like, they will literally do the ones where they bomb a whole tournament and finish way below the pecking order where you'd expect. And then the very next tournament, they'll come back and make the final and play Astralis again, you know. So it's like, that's why they are so infuriating. Here's the thing. On one level, part of me almost feels like Like in some ways, I don't think it's that big a problem in as much as you still do have some amazing results. It's just that people don't realize, like, it's so easy because they're an NA team to be like, whatever, it's still sick. No NA team's ever done this because no one's ever done it on this kind of consistent basis, like this amount of finals, this many times beating the top European teams. But yeah, unfortunately, it's going to end as a very tragic story if they never get these trophies.
Well, this is the thing. Look, it's like we always compare it to tennis. You know, you play in the Federer era, you know, play in the fucking Sampras era. Like, the number 2 player that maybe never wins a tournament is still really fucking good. It's just if this, like, godlike player didn't exist, they would obviously be the number 1 player. Now, unfortunately for Liquid, they do exist in this Astralis era, and they finished, like, runner-up, you know, I want to say, like, 4 times. Where they bumped into them, and it's like you have to be as good as Astralis to even have a chance of beating Astralis. This is why Astralis is so incredible, and they're doing it as front runners. All their demos are out there. It's like you said, you can know what they're going to do, and you still cannot stop them doing it. The one that stood out for me, and you'll notice that Liquid have had a bit of a capitulation since then, is ESL 1 New York against Mouse Sports. An infinitely beatable team. That final for me was the one where they should have got over the hoodoo, you know, because again, none of us count the summit, right? Because, you know, it was the Mouse Sports with snacks, right, as well.
Like that event was an example of where you get this every now and then in sports, where there's someone who is really good and everyone loves them. I'll give you a great example. It's one of my favorite NFL players would be Peyton Manning, right?
Sure,
now, I will absolutely say that when you're talking about someone like Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, the problem is because they are, as individual players, so amazing, and they do so many things that like fit the narrative of what you want the best quarterback to be like. The media does go too far with that narrative and basically like either forgive them every mistake they ever do, or when like, you know, like it's one thing as in this story here, if you go against, so for example, in Peyton Manning's career, early on he had to keep going against the fucking prime defense Patriots, which were like Belichick's like true magnum opus, basically. If you lose to them, you can always go, well, you know, if the Patriots weren't here, what would happen? The problem with that is, obviously, then there was later years where both these players have lost to nobodies and just fluke results in games where the whole point is when you have that game where the super great guy who you've been using as your excuse, the benchmark, isn't playing. That's why I call it the coronation, because it's like everyone's like, right, you know what, even though this isn't like the best win to get, whatever, finally my guy's going to get his win, he's going to beat this person. And then when it doesn't happen, those are the ones that have to make you start asking questions, because the question then becomes, oh, wait a minute, it wasn't about the other team that's better than you, though. There's also an element, like we're saying here with this Mouse Sports one, where it's like you're beating yourself as well. Because no matter what you say about that final, like this might sound like I'm downplaying Mouse Sports, but I'm not. Mouse Sports did everything they could to win that final. So you know what? Tip my hat to them. They won the final.
Absolutely.
But they could have done everything they did and still absolutely lost that final, and Team Liquid have won. So I'm sorry, that is an example of a final for me where Team Liquid, like, they get the fucking assist for Mouse Sports winning, if you know what I mean.
If I remember, though, and again, I could be wrong, there's been a lot of Counter-Strike the last few months, and so I'll defer to your memory. Wasn't it Dust 2 where Team Liquid were like 14-4 up?
That was the fourth map of the series. They were,
I
think it was like either 14 or 13 up, and they were on CT side. And it was something big, by the way, like, you know, maybe 13-6 or something. Yeah. And that was the one where they did all those saves over and over and over again. Only won one out of the next, you know, whatever. I don't know how many rounds that would be at this point in time. 11 rounds, like won 1 out of 11 rounds, went to overtime, was lost in overtime. They went to the 5th map and lost on that. So yeah, like that was one of those ones where it's like, I mean, they have a great saying in hockey for this, where they say you have the game on your stick, as in like, you know, there's no time left except for one last shot. It's 1-1. And if you put it in, you win the game. If you don't, it goes to overtime. Like you basically, Mouse Sports were powerless in that position. It's like you can win the whole
there you
series.
go. So someone's actually just posted in a chat that they had an 11-4 half, won the second half pistol and got to 13-4 and lost 19-17 in overtime.
Yes.
Now, that is nightmare fuel.
Like put it this way,
that gets demo, under your skin, a loss like that.
That demo is probably more important to study than any of the losses to Astralis, because some of the shit Astralis is doing, you might never have been able to stop anyway. You could try your best, but yeah, these are the games that really are the blueprint to say, like, there's something wrong with your team. It goes beyond Astralis.
Someone in the chat also says apparently Sean Gares has done a great
breakdown. He did a video on exactly this topic.
I'll have to watch
they did, basically. He tries to, like, figure out, you know, like, how do they get into this cycle of saves. It's a pretty good video. It was good.
Yeah, I'll check it out. But yeah, shout out to Sean. But yeah, I mean, for me, like, I don't know. I like I say, I've got no answers. It can't be as simple as Team Liquid are just perennial chokers. They're destined to fail. It's just, for me, like, there's certain hoodoos you've got to be able to come over. Nobody burns their Liquid jersey when you lose to Astralis. The fact that one of your nemesis are fucking NRG, that's a problem. Like, you've got to be able to overcome that. This is a team of fucking youngsters. You've got tenured players in your roster. You've got explosive talent in your roster. You should be able to start beating NRG on a frequent basis instead of this being the one where, oh, fucking hell, we got NRG again. Like, that's a cardinal sin. So, yeah, and then, of course, the other NA team, which we can gloss over in a much more relatively quick fashion because, well, I say NA team, technically a European team right now, was Cloud9. They were absolutely manhandled this event. It was 16-3 against Astralis, and then they lost 2-0 to Mouse Sports. Did have a pretty decent map on Train. Also got to be said, they did have to use Valence as a stand-in, which was probably a blessing for Mouse Sports in a lot of ways, because it might have been closer otherwise, because they got their own problems.
Don't worry, Valence had a map. I think it was the second one against Mouse where he was like 1-20 or something mental like that.
Yeah, like, I saw that. Yeah.
Like, to be fair, remember, that is what you should expect when the fucking coach plays. Like, I know he was a pro long time.
Well, think about that fucking hard-style weathered guy at the fucking who stood in for Space Soldiers.
No, you should literally
play the game.
You should obviously expect them to do. Like, by the way, you should automatically lose when you have your coaching. So any coach who does half decently, I'd say fair play to him. You did your fucking job.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you know, like, I can't say too much about Cloud9 on
they also had easily the hardest group of all. Look at that fucking group they're in.
Like, I think this was just a turn up on a, you know, and a turn up, play and go home kind of gig. Like, jury's still out for me on Cloud9 and where they're going to go with this new look lineup now that Kyoshima has been officially added to it. And as you said, whether or not they're going to embrace that European identity or try and cheese it and stay in an A team, I guess we'll see. But let's talk about Mouse Sports, who obviously beat them. This is a team. It's got its problems. Even though Stiko's come back playing very well, by the way, the elephant in the room about why Mouse Sports are underperforming right now, it's got to be said, it's ROPS. For me, this is a much simpler team to identify. Mouse Sports were a team that basically were a bunch of players that were all exceeding their tenure, their experience. They were performing incredibly well, you know, beyond a point that where your reputations would lead you to believe they were capable of. ROPS was the quintessential example of that. This was a player who hadn't played pro before. This was a player that literally came from nowhere to play on Mouse Sports and went to being a star player on the world stage. Unfortunately, and nobody likes to talk about it because he's got such a cool story and he's such a nice guy, he's the player that's missing for Mouse Sports. Sure, the Snacks move wasn't the right one. But even when Snacks was on this lineup, ROPS wasn't playing well. And he still isn't playing well. And I think he knows he's not playing well. And I'm trying to identify what this issue is. You know, is it burnout? Is it his first period of burnout? Is it something a bit more profound than that? Is there something tactically going on in the team? Because for me, Mouse Sports should be way better than they are. I mean, Oscar went the fuck off at this tournament.
He's been very good.
Yeah, and Stiko back is the godsend. He's the guy who does all the legwork, you know, the comms. Sonny is Sonny. Chris is like the MVP. Like if you added old ROPS, like where he was playing, like I don't know, I want to say like 9-10 months ago, even to maybe a little bit longer to this team, Mouse Sports are a real threat going into every tournament. Unfortunately, when your star player falls off this hard, what the fuck can you do? Now, is that a harsh assessment of Mouse Sports' problems?
Like, the tough thing obviously is like just putting back the old lineup. It's not like you were just going to click your heels and just go back in time and be the same team, because obviously you are the players that have developed since you made that roster move. And one of the reasons why this is really concerning to me was I already emphasized that when Snacks came in the team, I saw it. It seemed like Robs became worse. I don't know if that's swapping positions with him or what it might be, but I'm kind of with you on the angle of like, if I had to guess what this is actually like, I wouldn't say like, I don't know if I would say burnout, but I would say it's like, this is like the next stage to being a top player, which is everyone's played you a million times now, mate. You've maybe yourself gotten into a rut of like, this is how I play. This is what I do. This is my spot. This is where I hold. And one of the reasons why it's so tough to remain at the top of Counter-Strike is you've either got to be so good that whatever you do just keeps working. So I'd pick people like Kenny S, Guardians, and then just talk the same way over and over again, but they just got like, or you've got to reinvent your game. You've got to find a new spot. You've got to say, right, well, whatever we were doing before doesn't work anymore, so I'm going to have to take a different position, or on this map, I have to swap the site I play, whatever it might be. This is why it's a tough position for this squad to be in, because they've still got good pieces. They still are a good team, even. Like, at this tournament, they're still pretty good. Their problem was that they just had to play Astralis in the best of three, so you were never going to do anything there. But, yeah, I think the reason it's underwhelming is, just like FaZe Clan, they're a team that needs that firepower. Like, they need Sonny and Oscar and Robs to be legit, really strong players, especially if you're going to have any chance against the Astralises of the world. Like, you're not going to get away with a low firepower game. So I do think they're a team in trouble, because, as you said, at the moment, the only player playing like a star player is Oscar. And he was the guy, remember, they wanted to fucking cut a few months back when they still had Snacks. So just shows you what a mess some of the teams are in Europe. Like, I don't really know where you go at this point in time.
Yeah, it's like I say, I think we've seen this with a lot of mercurial talents, right? Like Stewie. Like I think Stewie is a kind of NA analogy, if you like. You know, he's made this move to MIBR. We all know why he's done it. The reasons are noble, but his gameplay suffered for large swathes of his period on MIBR. He doesn't look like the same player, and it's like I think he's almost trying to reinvent himself, but it's hard. But this is the problem. It's like you can only be like one type of player for so long in Counter-Strike. The game changes, the meta changes, lineups change. People
this is why,
build
like,
up this lexicon of how to beat you, you know?
Like, this is one of the reasons, if anyone's like a casual fan, like they only started following Counter-Strike a year or two ago, maybe they don't know too much about all the like top pros. This is one of the reasons why when last year G2 had that super team, one of the most criticized players was NBK. A lot of people were like, why is he even in this team? It should have been Scream instead. He's fucking shit. You know, look at his stats. They aren't that good. They don't understand the insane like respect level within the actual like pro community that someone like NBK has. And one of the reasons why is people know how many fucking different teams this guy played for, played different roles, reinvented himself, swapped up what he did, was a side caller, or was a lurker, or was then like a fucking follow-up entry play. Like, the amount of shit this guy was able to do, that's so rare. Like, there's a lot of people have tried it. You hear the stories all the time. Like, someone does it as a desperation move for 3 months. Oh, I'll be the in-game leader. Oh, I'll become the support player. They fucking switch back quickly when it doesn't work. It's very rare you can actually just keep your career going that way. That's the reason, in my opinion, why a lot of the great stars just fall off. People like Snacks, people like Get Right, because unfortunately, when they get to an era where what they do doesn't work, they're just kind of done. Like, they don't have an entirely new vision of themselves. You know, it's rare that you do.
Yeah, and not to mention, it's got to be said, I mean, even just the idea that you can sustain greatness, it
is laughable, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Like, I mean, it's like, you know, in Train Spotting, when Sick Boy gives that speech about Sean Connery, it's Sean Connery theory, and he says, like, there's a period where you have it, and when you have it, you do all your best work and everything you touch is amazing, like all of Sean Connery's films when he was Bond, all of this. But then you lose it, and once you've had it and lost it, you very rarely, you never recover it. And you know, like with Connery, his aberration was In the Name of the Rose. The rest of the movie made are all garbage, you know? That's just that was Sick Boy's theory of having it and not having it. And I think you see it a lot with Counter-Strike players. It's right. I mean, the Snacks I see playing these days bears no resemblance to the Snacks that was a top 5 player in 2016 or whatever it was. And I doubt we'll ever see that Snacks again, honestly. And it's
like you say, though, it's kind of logical.
Reinvent yourself.
Like, think about it. It should be rare that someone in a game where thousands and thousands of people are competing hard to overcome you and get to the very top, it should be the case that it is insanely hard to be successful doing this. It's one of the reasons I always told people I was a massive fan of Korean StarCraft when it was in its heyday, because basically it was a scene of about off the top of my head, I'll just say 1,000 people all training 14 hours a day, trying to be number one. And that's why if you were the best player ever in StarCraft Brood War, you only won 6 titles. 6 titles was the fucking absolute distance you could ever hope to reach, because to win 6 times meant that you'd overcome people studying everything you did, adapting to what you did initially, figuring out how to neutralize you. That's why, again, the same thing this year, don't take for granted for 1 second how ludicrous Simple's numbers are every single event. That means even people like Astralis, who are god tier teams, are sitting down, running all the demos back, looking at all his tendencies, and even when they've studied the fucker for almost a year, still having to be sort of nothing you can do against that, is there? Right? Just play the game as we were anyway and just let him get his fucking numbers off. No one can stop this guy, and it shouldn't be the case. He really should have been figured out by it's totally logical. He should have had a really sick 3 to 4 months. Then we'd have all be going, oh, imagine if Na'Vi had done anything with that, what a waste, Instead, the guy just did it for fucking a year. You could even argue a bit longer if you look at some of the past years, and we're just witnesses to something ridiculous you'll probably never see again. That's why when people say, I know people get mad at this, they go, oh, you shouldn't say it, because I always say we're simple, you'll probably never see a player as good. They're you shouldn't say that, you don't know who's coming. It's when you're talking about Simple or Faker or something like that, you have to realize they're so absurdly good. I always make this case about Faker. He didn't have to exist, There could have just been some other guy who'd be now called the best League of Legends player, who, won the World Championship twice and just had a really good career. They didn't have to be a cunt who could just do everything and never lose. That is so absurd as a premise.
And the thing is as well, though, it doesn't matter who comes next. Just by virtue of what this person has done, they'll always be in the discussion. We're still talking about Michael Jordan, even though we've had, LeBron and... This is the nature of the beast. These people are so good. It's with Simple, you are witness to the best individual player any version of Counter-Strike's ever had. I don't care. I don't care. You get all of the greats, you contextualize them in a time and a place. Yes, you can talk about, your Neos, your Forests, your Potties, whatever, right? Brilliant. Yeah, super good, right? Awesome. Simple, better than all of them in terms of what he's producing at the moment in CSGO, in this meta. And as you said, with everybody trying to stop him, and they cannot. They cannot. And this is why it's criminal that Na'Vi, first of all, never got over the hump to being the number 1 team. Because it's not just Simple, by the way. We'd probably be talking a lot about Electronic if he didn't play on Na'Vi.
Of course.
We'd probably be talking a lot more.
Be a fucking monster, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we're not, because it's always hey, did you see me? I got a fucking 1.8 rating over the course of the tournament. And Simple.
Yeah.
2.40. Fucking hell, mate. Imagine having to play understudy to that cunt. It would drive you fucking mad. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. Na'Vi aren't even winning all the fucking tournaments. You got to look back at this period when Simple leaves, or when his form finally leaves him, and you're going to see a very ordinary Na'Vi team, right? And you're going to think, fucking hell, that was the time they should have dominated, and they didn't dominate because they got some motherfuckers riding on coattails. And it's nonsense. But yeah, I say, I think you're right. I think you're on point about just in terms overall of fucking talent. And sometimes people drop off and they never come back. Now, I hope it doesn't happen to Robs. I think Robs is way too young. I believe it's a burnout thing. I think it's the first time. It's probably got some similarities with what's happening with Twists right now. Twists putting out some unbelievable performances, unbelievable numbers. Imagine being on a team with Elige and Naf, right? And everyone's talking about you as the great NA hope, This is, it's quite an accolade. And he's had health problems. He's had personal problems. Now his form's dipping. This is where you start to question, like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I need to fix this. But if I fix this, this goes down. You're spinning plates all fucking day, and eventually, like, one of them's got to hit the floor. That's it, and then you start the process again. It's tough for a lot of young players. This is why we need more coaching, more guidance from older pros. More like you say, sports psychologists. Not a panacea for everything, but it can help if you've got the right kind of mindset and the premises that they give to you, like it all aligns. But right now, he's trying to do it all by himself, and I think Rups is doing the same thing. I think he's going through the same struggle. He's like, wait, 18 months ago I was a god tier player, and now statistically I'm bad. Like, you've got to look inward, and you've got to figure out another system that works for you. Great champions are never defined by what they do with their A game. It's what you do with your B game, your C game. How do you still produce something worthwhile when you're going into something at 80%, 70%? So hopefully he can dig deep, because Mouse Sport's going to do nothing without him. That's just a fact. Talk about North. Pleasant surprise at this tournament, I thought. You know me, I have my views about North, but they played some great Counter-Strike and some great series, actually. The NRG one, I've got to mention, because that opening 16-14, that's probably the best nuke game I think we've had. I'm trying to think of, like I say this all the time, classic games on nuke don't happen.
Not many,
yeah, right? Because they just don't. But that was a fucking great game, marked by what I believe, you can tell me if you agree or not, the best 1v5 I think I've seen in CSGO.
It's definitely a very strong contender. Like, that's not even just recency bias either. Like, the real reason it was so epic was it was one of the only times you'll see where, like, first of all, even from the opponent's POV, you don't really seem to notice that, like, the enemy's dying made a lot of mistakes. I think there's, like, one guy, like, overpeaked. That's about it. And even then, by the way, it's not really an overpeak when we're in a 5v1, because, most times, even if you kill me, I get the info on where you are, my teammate kills you. There's all reasons as to why those aren't the misplays people make out. But I agree with you. Like, it's not one of those clips where you're just enjoying the guy killing everyone. Like, wow, look at that. It's like you're watching it and you're going, not only did this guy play really smart, but it's like they even sort of did accurate responses to what he was trying to do. So it made it even more impressive. And obviously that is basically, as much as North isn't at the moment an elite team, like Valde has become a very good player in this team. He was already when the MSL was there, but like he's just even better now. He's like far away the best player on this team.
I wonder, because again, like I did say this when they picked up Cadian, right? Like, I don't think Cadian is a great in-game leader. Casper's a cool guy, real nice dude, always will make time for him, but he's never, and he's a smart guy, but he's never struck me as a guy that's going to be like high-level tactics, and, I never really thought about that. I never thought of him that way, but I think what he's done in terms of, like, there's definitely a bit more swagger to how they play now. Like, you'll notice Kiebi, production starting to come back. Valde, he was off the fucking chain. Like, this series against NRG, he got the most kills. Like, this isn't a player you usually associate with that. But, 83 kills overall across 3 maps. That was higher than even Cirque's output. We all know how he likes to go off. And again, think about that moment he gets the 1v5 clutch. This is why I think it's one of the, I think it's the best. I mean, I'll just nail. I had some guys replying, what about Neos on Overpass? Yeah, it was against the Force Buy, and yes, the people he killed did have armor and did have AKs, but they kind of stacked the site and they had to rotate, and there's all these like mitigating circumstances. So it's really, really good. It's like probably, it's definitely top 3, but this was better. This was all headshots. All his opponents, like, pretty much knowing roughly where he is, trying to just leverage an advantage against him, and he's read them perfectly. 1v5, all headshots, and it ties the game up, I think, at 13-13. And then they get the economy, and they were able to win that map 16-14 off the back of a 1v5 clutch. I mean, it's just amazing. And you're right. I think Valde's talent is like, we're starting to see why he was so highly regarded when this move was made. Now, overall, I thought North as well. They had that. It was MIBR that they lost to. Again, 2-1. They took a map off MIBR. So North could have conceivably gone to the finals. So I guess just some general thoughts about where they are as a project. This is the best I think I've seen them since Cadian come in. But I almost kind of feel there's a little bit of a qualifying statement. They beat a Liquid in a best of one without twists. They beat NRG in a really close final that hinges on one moment of brilliance from an incredible player. MIBR, to some people, are an eminently beatable team. Obviously, we're going to talk about them in a moment. It was a pretty close series. Kiebi kind of went a bit AWOL in that one. But so are they heading in the right direction or what?
I mean, bearing in mind they've only played a few lands, I've seen some very positive things from them. Like when they were at Star Series, they had to play NRG there, where it was like the first tournament they had Gate, so they did pretty decently at that one with like lesser teams in the field. IEM Chicago was the one where they got upset by LDLC, who obviously was like a wild dark horse. No one knew anything about them. That's a little bit underwhelming because you'd hope that they'd be the ones doing the run there and making a deeper run. Here, I thought generally like some pretty good maps of play. I will say this: if you notice though, like they do seem like they've made the team a bit looser because like they never have, like every game that they play is like a real tough match. It's like everything's like 16-12, like tough halves all the time. They've seemed to have done something with some of the players, like Valdez playing amazingly. Kirby's still a bit dodgy. Gaydachi's been a pretty good addition. It seems like they've fit him into his role properly enough. AZ's just AZ. Like, I think we've realized not to expect too much. Cadian himself's not a very good individual player. So I wouldn't even say, like, firepower-wise, that the lineup changed that much since MSL left. Like, Cadian's not doing that much himself. That, yeah. But as a team, they look more efficient, basically. Like, they're doing more in all the games. They look like they match up against most teams. Map pool's half decent. There are some signs here. My problem is just this. It's like, after watching Optic at a few tournaments and watching this team at a few tournaments, neither is like a cohesive, like top team. Like you're not going to see any of these teams rise up and go top 5 in the rankings and start really threatening to win tournaments. So I just feel like at the moment, it's still a scenario where it's like the talent's there. You look at this Optic, you look at this team, there are some good players here. There are some good pieces, but no one's got the right mix yet for me. Like these teams, they're not complete in that sense. It has to be the right opponent, the right map, and then you can do something.
Sorry, I've just been linked to something. I can't believe this is real.
Here we go. Come on.
No. We'll talk about it afterwards. It's pretty.
Fair enough.
It's pretty disturbing, actually. Okay. Yeah, we'll wrap
Breaking
up the
news.
ACS talk. Yeah, it is. So MIBR. Again, I know I'm glossing over NIP here. I love you guys. Love you ninjas. Fuck Fnatic. Get my phone out. But MIBR for me are the real talking point here.
Sure.
This event. First time I think they've really shown promise. And I say this with the fact that this tournament could have looked very, very differently, but they had an incredible series in the groups where they beat Astralis 2-1.
Yep.
With an overtime win on Train and a 16-14 on Inferno. I mean, basically, if you take all of the maps that MIBR and Astralis played from this series, you have got a fucking feast of Counter-Strike.
Yes.
These games are amazing. And ECS, they've always been blessed, it seems, with having really, really good finals. Now, I know Astralis had a 2-0 in the final against MIBR when it mattered. 16-14, 22-20 again. Super, super close. Is this an example of MIBR getting better, or is this an example of Yanko and Fallen are preparing so hard for Astralis right now that, like, kind of like Carrigan used to, you know, when they would play when he was in-game leading for FaZe? Is this just a case of that matchup is always going to develop games like this, but MIBR are actually kind of still going to struggle against other opponents? Or is this MIBR finally turning the corner? Because I got to say, I know Tarek said he had a poor performance we're going to talk about Fur in a moment. I think Fur is the one that was an issue here, but there's mitigating circumstances. But Stewie was back. Cold Zero was back. Fallen was back. This was really, really close. And, well, I'll let you answer the question first, and then we'll get into the whole Fallen Stewie thing. So.
No, I am on that question there. That's basically how I frame it. Like, personally, I think MIBR is not, as an overall team, against all teams in the world and all tournament fields, I don't think that they've improved much more than where they were a month ago, where they were a month and a half ago. I think Yanko's impact was very, very quick, and then he's done a decent enough job. But there's a reason why every interview is like, we made mistakes, we have to discuss our roles. It's like, that just means it isn't working. Like, you do it, you're telling everyone all the stuff to do, you're breaking all the demos down, you're picking the right map for yourself, but it's not always working. So I personally come down on the side of, I think they just happen to be one of the teams that matches up well against Astralis. Like, mixture of map pool, they're able to play the teams that maps that Astralis don't like. Train, Overpass, in theory, with seeing as ones that are more like that. Astralis has such a wild map pool, by the way. It's not even the case that they're bad on Train, but as you've seen, that's the map they played them on the group stage. I noticed they went away from that in the final, which I thought was interesting. The problem here is, like, MIBR has done a good job against Astralis. I mean, they've lost a lot of the games all the same, but there's two factors I have an issue with. One, you just haven't seen them do this against the other teams. Like, where are they in all the other tournaments that has FaZe Clan and Team Liquid and Na'Vi? Show me wins over those teams. Like, don't keep telling me, oh, but I'm so close to beating Astralis, right? Well, then go ahead and beat all the other teams. Because when Team Liquid isn't close to beating Astralis, but beats everyone else, we say they're the number 2 team in the world. Like, MIBR hasn't done it against other people. Like, they just don't have the ranked series wins. I think their only win until over a ranked opponent, aside from Astralis here, was like Mouse Sports months ago. So they just don't have the wins to prove that they are as good as they think they are. It's a matchup thing. And then secondly, how far MIBR has fallen is entirely transparent by the way they themselves are now trying to control the narrative. So I saw an interview with Fur about that Blast Pro Series Copenhagen event where they finished last place and lost all 5 of the best of ones. Yeah. He said this was not a bad tournament because they were close in all those games. So understand, we are talking about a team with 5 world champions, major winning players, and they are trying to say to each other, well, it's not that bad to lose every game. We were close. We were in the game. It's like, where the fuck have your expectations gone? What is this? Yeah. Like, you were a team who literally kicked someone because you were only making the final and the semis. That's the level of greatness you were operating on before. Now your whole angle is like, well, we played well in a loss and, we'll try and fix mistakes and we all like each other. It's like, I don't care about any of these things. All I care about is, why is your team not as good as it should be and what are you doing to change it? Like, I feel as though this lineup, like, it's going to sound weird because they've just come second in a big tournament and they were close to beating the same team that beat them and winning the tournament. But I personally think this is like a bump that you won't see replicated in future tournaments. I think they're a good team. I can't remember where they are now on my rankings, maybe 5th or something. I think 5th is about where they should be. I think that sounds about right. I think if you put in Team Liquid, Na'Vi, FaZe, I'm going to go ahead and say MIBR doesn't outplace those teams.
I'm gonna say some shit.
Come on,
right?
Do it.
Yeah, fuck it. That's all. I don't care, right? So Fur's been playing poorly.
It's pretty bad.
Again, you consider where he was a year ago. The mitigating circumstance here is he needs ear surgery again. And he's announced that he's going to go and he's going to get this surgery. It's a tough one. It's like I think he's had surgery on his nose, on his ear. Now he needs another ear surgery here. And obviously, listen, if you're partially deaf, like because of an ear problem, Counter-Strike is going to be a fucking struggle. Sound is so vitally important for like even just positioning your crosshair awareness. It's not just as simple as, well, if you can hear a little bit, you know someone's over there. Like, it's you really need to be able to figure out what's going on around you, and a large part of Counter-Strike is using sound to help build up a 3-dimensional picture in your brain of how best to play a situation. So any impairment to that is crippling. It really is. And I feel incredibly sorry for him to sort of have to be going through that. But Tarek's calling out his performance I think Fur did worse. Stewie seems to be like turning the corner, had some good like performances. He's definitely getting confident and stuff. Is there a world, Duncan, right, where you say, listen, Fur, love you, and all that, but like, go get your ear surgery. Like, we're gonna bench you. Liquid's shit in the fucking bed. The return of Taco to MIBR to come in. I was thinking about this last night in bed. These are the type of things that keep me awake when I'm having, my insomnia things. If you put Taco in for Fur right now, gave Tarek a slightly freer role so he's not having to do so much. Fur, obviously, we're not talking about great Fur. We're talking about deaf Fur. Does that fix the problem? Is that a move that could work?
Well, one of the things I personally have a different mentality from, I think, the MIBR guys, based on the interviews I've seen with them, is like, this is why I don't get why they made these roster moves. Like, to me, my whole explanation from the MIBR scenario goes like this. The Brazilian scene was so fucked up, they gambled on Stewie. And then once they gambled on Stewie, the sunken cost policy was enacted. And now they couldn't remove him because he was such a massive purchase, that every future decision must somehow exist within a paradigm where Stewie 2K must be on this team. So rather than just correcting the obvious mistake, they've gone down this path where they painted themselves into a mad corner. And now they're in a tough spot. But the part that I never understood about this premise was, why bring in Tarek and Stewie and then seemingly give them the shit roles in the team? That's the part that I'm so suspicious about. I don't think this was ever a plan. I think they've just constantly tried to make the best of whatever situation they're in. That's why they had the in-game leader situation earlier in the year. So personally, when I look at this team, like, I actually think that's the big arrogance of the team, is thinking that Fur and Fallen are going to be these monsters still, and so it's fine for the others to play those roles. I'm with you. I think people like Tarek are just fucking wasted in this team. I think Stewie 2K, like, everyone tries to claim he's a support player now. He is taking the bad roles. It's a waste of fucking time, isn't it? Like, what, you're having one result every now and then. Like,
let's also
I'll give you an example, okay?
Yeah,
like, one of the aspects to me that unfortunately makes the MIBR win over Astralis not that, like, legit, as in not something I think will happen often, is not only was it insanely close on the maps they won, but if you go watch, I think Yanko was the one who tweeted this, over the series against Astralis, Fallen had 80 kills, 60 were with the AWP. If you're averaging 20 AWP kills a map, that isn't going to happen against Astralis. I'm sorry, that's just not, even someone like Simple's not going to do that very often. So you either believe that they've cracked the formula and Fallen's just re-emerged as some godlike player, or it was a one-off and they had a really nice little run of form, and next turn they'll be back to problems, which is kind of where I'm falling this one. Because I think this lineup, I'd tear it all apart. But if you're going to start making changes, I'd immediately snap your hand off at that deal. Like, let's give some of these other guys a chance to do something.
Well, so I'm trying to figure out if I think this is a good thing or not. I'm still kind of ambivalent. I don't really know. But, like, this is what I want to talk about. We all saw the clip of when they made that really dumb call on Inferno, where they just pushed through a smoke up mid into a fucking CZ stack. Like, if they win that round where they had a full buy, they were up against CZs. If they win that round, it goes to OT. Who knows how it goes down? It's a terrible way to lose a map, and it's an inexplicable call. Again, I know the memes, but you don't know about your game. You don't have any tactical thoughts in your... It is possible, that Fallen can make mistakes. I know it's hard to believe.
It's weird, isn't it? Because the amount of tournaments this guy's fucking flunked this year and yet retained this amazing status as an in-game leader and play. It's so bizarre. Like, it just shows how the cult of personality goes way too far in esports.
Yeah, and listen, I think Fallen's a fucking Counter-Strike genius. But you know what? Not every fucking idea that came out of Einstein's fucking mouth was solid fucking gold. People have fucking limitations. And this call, I watched the clip back.
It was ludicrous, mate.
No, but I'm trying to think of a mitigating circumstance that could make pushing a smoke as a full buy when you've got over a minute on the clock. There's no impetus to do it. Into a CZ buy. I'm just trying to think of what could have been happening around that made him think, if we push through this smoke, we're actually going to get the drop on him. I cannot rationalize it. But again, obviously, I'm not Fallen. But to me, it looked an incredibly dumb decision.
Just seemed like a panic move, like you just threw shit at the wall. It didn't work, whatever.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's like, okay, take remember the Astralis VP thing on Train where Glaive just made that fuck it, let's just push out a main. right? That's one of those gambles where if you get shut down, you just look like a dickhead and you lose, right? It's big balls. But the point is, you can see the risk reward of doing that in that situation, right? In this situation, I don't understand what the reward is. I don't understand what the risk you're doing is. Like, what's the payoff here? At best, you get through the smoke and there's no one there. And now you've still got to check every corner and try and, hope they haven't stacked that site. You've got all the problems. All you're doing by pushing through that smoke is giving them an opportunity to kill you and get your guns. And that's exactly what happened, and they lose off the back of that. Now, what you saw in the aftermath was, like, everyone's doing the high fives, the low fives, let's call them. The sad, like, never mind. We got the next one. Come on, let's just mentally reset. Yanko's in there. Stewie was fucking pissed off. And you could see him. He's saying why. Like, he was obviously pissed off about that call. And if you remember, we saw footage of him at the major where it's like, why is Skadoodle not fucking calling? I'm trying to hold off a quad and I don't know what Skadoodle's looking at and he's not talking to me. We know, like, he'll go off on his teammates. Now, is this a good sign? Because to me, it shows that Stewie, who looked up to Fallen like a fucking idol, and that was one of the reasons why he made this move in the first place, he's lost that now. He's lost that, like, reverence, which can be unhealthy in a working relationship. Or is this a bad sign? Because it's like, now the beast in Stewie's, like, thinking, actually, fuck me, like, this isn't all great. Like, what that call is irreparably stupid, and that could sort of have, like, this knock-on effect of, like, making the team fracture. What do you think?
Well, that's also why it's so tough to believe this is legit, because this run right now, if you're MIBR, the story should be like, act like you've been there before. Like, right, no, we're back. We're a top team again. And the next time we will beat Astralis again. We will win the championship. You don't look at that on this one. You go, right, great run of form at this one tournament. You had chances to maybe do that, but you made some, in the end, bizarre desperation plays. People had shit games they couldn't recover from. I feel as though they barely keep the pieces together in MIBR. Like, I find it so suspicious that every single fucking interview is just happy families. Like, I love all the teammates. Oh, we're doing great in practice. Oh, yeah, Yanko, great coach. Everything's just great in this team. It's like, if you reach that level of success, you don't ever go back to finding it cool to make a quarterfinal and then go out again. You don't, like, people who are multiple time major winners aren't out there going, well, we had a close game that we lost, didn't we? It's like, that's nothing. I mean, winning a small game is nothing when you're a champion. Losing a fucking game that you just because it's close, like, the great players don't hang their hat on that. So that, to me, I have to say, is a marker that they just have no real confidence in this team. Like, I think they just have to mind fuck themselves every day into believing this lineup can work, this composition can work, this style of play can work, because there are all these qualities within the team that are, like, good, but I don't see them as, like, promising. So, for example, when they show me something on a map, I don't then go, wow, imagine if they develop that map. They tried this already. They've tried all the map pool. Like, for me, I think they're just a team who's capped out. Like, and unfortunately for them, you can't cap out at being the fifth best team if you've got this lineup. You've got to be top three. You've got to be winning some titles,
And where do you put Yanko in all this?
I do think he had a good effect.
Done a good job?
Yeah, like I remember when they obviously added Tarek just before Yanko joined. I think it was like E-League Premier or something. They were a much worse team when Yanko hadn't joined. The problem is, it's not like he made them an elite team. I don't think anyone can do that. Like, I think, in my opinion, this lineup cannot be world class. Like, fair play to him for giving these great games here. Massive props for beating Astralis once. I'm not even going to take the angle, by the way, of like, yeah, but it was just so close. Like, it was, but you know what? You've lost close games too, so they all count. Yeah, they all count for you. Very few teams have beaten Astralis in the best of three on LAN. That's legit. Couldn't pull it off in the final. Okay.
Yeah. So look, I know we're running out of time, and I wanted to talk. Well, so I wanted to talk about maybe we just get through this quickly and we just end the show. I did want to talk about existence. I'll have to save that for the next show. Okay. Because this is, well, first of all, somebody linked me about FNX's dad passing away. So obviously condolences. I mean, kind of tough. He's like you said, he's out there in the wilderness career-wise, and now he's got to deal with this. That isn't what I was gonna talk about. It was this fucking tweet by our friend Zeus. And it's really
from Ukraine, I assume, yeah?
Yeah, Zeus.
Of course, my favorite one.
Daniel.
The Lobachenya of pro players.
Yeah, okay. Well, you just hold back on that thought because
to be fair, it might even be Zeus tweeting it. So let's see. Come on.
All right. Well, anyway, so he tweeted out a picture of himself, sort of making a joke, and it was a picture of him with like black eyes and a cut and everything. And the tweet said, "When you tell everyone to go A, but they really want to go B, should have just let them go B." And he's kind of making a joke about it. So I figured, he's a big guy. I know he's done combat sports or whatever. Maybe he's just come out of a particularly aggressive round of sparring. Sometimes you get caught on the nose. You end up with I know this myself many times. You end up with a double black eye. Looks way worse than it was. You just get caught wrong. Someone slips through your guard, and that's that. But anyway, apparently, according to what's Senya stream, and apparently what happened was Zeus was just out at a marketplace and was like just doing some grocery shopping, and a guy came up to him and said, "Oh, are you Zeus?" Yeah, and then the guy just immediately punched him in the face repeatedly. Yeah, and said, he was shouting about how because he'd lost the final. And this guy had placed a bet.
Fucking hell, this guy's a bet.
Yeah, and then apparently Zeus was even had his hands down because he was all geared up, ready to take a selfie or something. And this guy just fucking sucker punched him.
What a bitch.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's a. People are saying this is some people are saying it's a joke.
I'm gonna warn you guys.
Is it a joke? Is that real?
Next time I'm at Star Series, if anyone walks up to me, "Are you Thorin?" I'll throw my fucking hot coffee in your face. Don't even come near me.
Yeah. Is that actually a joke?
I saw on Reddit they said that apparently he said that on stream, but also was like joking around as he said it, so they're not sure if he was serious.
So people aren't sure if he's serious or not. So how's Zeus got these black eyes then? Because obviously, if it's not a joke and Zeus did get attacked, you know what I'm gonna say. You know where I'm going. Just obviously this is the fucking state of it, isn't it? This is, he didn't get two black eyes up. Yeah, well, I mean, but it's a prospect now.
Then again, to be fair, I've always been planning against this for years. I've already told you this story before, but it's true. Like, for example, if I'm in Amsterdam and I'm walking around the town and someone goes, "Are you Thor?" And I go, "Nope," and just keep walking on. So I've been training against this for years. I'll be safe. It's all right.
But yeah, so like I'm just saying. I mean, put it this way: if you guys out there knew, right? Because do you remember that cunt from a Vanguard who did it? Do you remember that? Did we talk about it on the show? I can't even remember now.
What happened?
But there was right. Let me find it. There was a social media guy from a Vanguard, and he went absolutely mental with who was it? It was a Danish player, I think. Yeah, Config it was. I've got it now. And basically, yeah, this guy, the social media manager from a Vanguard, DM'd him saying, "You fucking retard, I hate you. I hope you will die 23rd of October." It's a bit specific. I'm guessing it was the next day.
I remember this now, yeah.
Yeah. Idiot, fucking idiots. You should die with your family. And Config, because he's a G. He's fucking tweet.
Here's the thing, that makes
not
it
just you.
Nice, though. Like if I'm gonna die surrounded by my family, loved ones, so yeah, passing on to the next world. Like, he's made that sound positively cozy.
No interest in dying just at all, actually, as a rule. But certainly no, I wouldn't want my family around. Fuck that. No. I'll want to check out by myself. Like, I want to be like the cat that crawls under the fucking house. You know what I mean? That's me. But yeah, this is the shit. If people knew the amount of fucking threats and abuse that players get from fucking people who were like pissed off about them losing. Like, it was worse at its height with the skins betting when CS:GO Lounge was a thing. Like, it was unbelievable. And it was, if it's true and it's not a joke by Senya, because this is the thing, everyone's going, "Oh, it must be a joke." It's like, I don't know. To me, it's entirely plausible, because if you think about the sheer volume of tweets, I talked to JW about it. Every time Fnatic would lose like an online game or whatever, because they were like the dominant team, it would just get fucking straight away. "Gonna carve me up some bacon, piggy wig." Nonsense. Like, it was just real crazy shit. So it's inevitable that there'll be one guy out there who's just waiting to fucking sucker punch a player who cost him a fucking Dragon Lore or something. Just saying. But look, okay, we got $100 question, then we'll be out here on the show. So Hyolu, the man, says, is Cloud9 bringing in Keo and making Automatic a hybrid player better than looking for a dedicated AWPer to complete the roster? And just as a bit of background, in case people haven't been following Cloud9's games, because let's be real, they're not the same Cloud9 that won the major. Yes, this is what they've been doing right now. You will see Automatic has basically been AWPing a lot and kind of playing hybrid roles depending on the map and everything else. So what do we think about this? I mean, I think Automatic is such an amazing fucking talent. I think it's a testament to that fact that he is playing as well as he is in a different role with a different gun. I mean, this guy is a fucking monster. Please, get him to FaZe, commit to the EU thing. Let Automatic go to a bigger team where his talents can shine, because he's just insane. But for me, I will say this. Unless you are talking about the very best hybrids that we've had, again, simple in the equation, device. So I know he's a primary AWPer now, but I mean, he comes from that, hybrid background. He has been a rifler at periods in his in his career. I think it, you always want a dedicated AWPer. Like the best AWPers in the game have always been the ones that are dedicated to the craft, the Guardians, vintage Kenny S. So I just don't know who you would get for Cloud9. I don't know who's out there. They've tried with Cirque a number of times. I mean, Cirque would continue the EU thing, but apparently his contract's a lock at NRG. And who the fuck would want to leave NRG to go to Cloud9 right now? It'd have to be a hell of a salary, right?
Yeah. That's the tough part right now, is that you look at the rest of the scene. I mean, there are people in the NA region who are good AWPers. There's Cirque, there's Wardell. Neither of these players are enjoying Cloud9 at this moment. So, Cloud9, here's the problem that Cloud9 is going to face, is that they are in exactly the same position that, funnily enough, a lot of these big name teams from League of Legends are in League of Legends, where there's so much investment coming to the scene and their team isn't far and away the best in every possible sense, that as a result, one of the old draws they used to have is it's not just that they could offer the most money. They could at one point in time, but more importantly, you play for Cloud9. Holy shit. And if you play with Cloud9, you play with player X and player Y. So in the past, that was probably Stewie and Automatic. You want to play with both of them. That's why you go to Cloud9. At the moment, you look at Cloud9 and you go, right, they've got Automatic, who's good, but seems to be disconnected from the other pros in the NA scene and maybe lost motivation. And then that's it. You've just got a bunch of Europeans that, people in the NA scene don't know. So people aren't in a rush to join fucking Cloud9. People are only going to join Cloud9 if it's a really good lineup. So I think that this lineup, I'm with you. You just embrace being EU for now. If you want to go NA, you can always go and get an NA core and then just you can buy the NRG squad or something. But at this point in time, there's no point. You're not going to gain much of a benefit on staying in the NA scene. Even if you keep Automatic, get rid of Rush. This is just a waste of time at this point.
Put it this way: if I was a player, right, and I had the chance to join a team and play with Flusher, I'd do it immediately. Look on that cunt's piece.
I know, exactly.
How can you turn down that? It's like fucking the Pandora's box.
You know how
how the fuck do you say no?
You know how there's all those American comedy skits, where someone's on a diet and they're always sneaking down for a midnight fucking snack in the fridge. I'd just be doing that on his PC all the time. Every time they'd be walking down, I'd just be really nervous, walking away from the PC. All right. What you doing here? Oh, sorry, you came for a drink, did you? I'll get that for you. Bring it up, yeah. What do you want? One milk? Yeah. Let me see.
Yeah, but that'd be the thing,
registry of this motherfucker.
Yeah, that'd be the thing.
I'd be on his BIOS reading shit.
You'd never get there. You'd never get to his PC. Flusher would be in his nest, just waiting for you. Going somewhere, Timothy.
He'd just have it on remote access, and he'd just instantly start moving the cursor around, you're looking for my seat. He'd be like one of those fucking on a point and click adventure, one of those enemies of you're looking for my magical stuff, are you? I'm with you these 3 riddles. fucking hell. I am rotund, yet a champion 3 times. I like some shit like that.
The answer to every one of Flusher's riddles is Flusher.
Yeah, of course.
My first is in Flusher, but not in Russia. Fuck. But yeah, I couldn't turn down the opportunity just to have a sniff around me, like, no doubt. So anyway, I guess we'll end the show there. You gonna be doing anything content wise, events wise? Are you down for the year?
I've got a little bit of travel. I have to go somewhere tomorrow for something which we're not allowed to reveal what it is. It's just termed the esports mystery. It's nothing that crazy, guys. It's not like I'm not fucking joining G2. It's nothing big. So you'll find out what that is in a few days. People at CSGO won't care anyway. It's not that related.
Who's calling it the esports mystery?
Have a look on Twitter. Go look at that hashtag, mate. It's a secret. It's all a secret. It's all a secret. Just a secret. We'll have to find out what it is. I'll tell you when we're off air what it is. But yeah, it's no big deal. So anyway, yeah, next week should be back for the usual standard show, all that jazz.
Should I be sad I haven't been invited to the esports mystery?
No, I'll tell you.
Esports mystery without me.
I'll tell you right after this.
I fucking am esports. I'm like Ty Cobb.
You'll find out. You'll find out.
All right, cool. Yeah. This is where Sam will leave a hot mic and fuck everything. Yeah, Gary Oldman.
Fuck that mystery now, mate.
Right. So shout out to the sponsors. Rivalry.gg sponsor my YouTube channel. They are a place you can go and place bets on Counter-Strike games. And don't end up like somebody who maybe did or didn't assault Zeus. Don't do that. But you can place it in a nice, safe, ethical environment. It's all good. They even limit. You can't get too much in the hole, so no one's going to come and take your thummies. Don't worry. So go to rivalry.gg/RLS. $350 for VIP bonuses if you do it. And of course, you support me, which is fucking definitely worth it because I am great. Shout out to all our patrons that make this broadcast possible. $100 patrons. Botvik, Detlef Insomniac, Hyolu, Jerky's Minion. Reminder that if you donate $100 to the show, you get to ask a question every broadcast. Take advantage of that. And our $50 patrons, Manuel Stockley, Rekovic on Steam, Sardzawar, Daniel Plamanov Yordanov, Pete Bidstrup, TC Owens, Watch Doge, Carve, Roosty, Ditta Dornov Christensen, Nostradamus, Marcus Kiumpar, Madsen, Colin Penny, Benakagi Assassin, and William Southern. That was By the Numbers. Until next time, take care.